Good evening and welcome to our first episode of Sports Hour of the semester. I am Kevin Syracuse with Aaron Sember. Aaron, how was your summer?
Pretty quick, but whatever. Time to talk some sports.
That's right. So starting with Fredonia sports, the Fredonia Blue Devils women's tennis team defeated Brockport 6-3 in Brockport Saturday afternoon. In singles, Sarah Bunk took the number 1 spot, Anna Chacha took number 2, Michaela Johnson 3, and Jane Chacha took 4th. The Blue Devils are now 6-0 this season and return home to face Thiel College Thursday afternoon. The women's volleyball team defeated Allegheny, Thiel, and North Carolina Wesleyan over the weekend to improve their record to 6-6. Emily Leone, Emily Jones, Emma Booth, and McKenna Callan were the top performers for the Devils between Friday and Saturday. The women return to action tomorrow night at Buff State. The women's soccer team defeated Elmira 7-1 on Kids Day Saturday at University Stadium. Sophie Alessi and Nina Doyle each scored 2 goals, while Sophie Rakusa, Izzy Audette, and Gabby Alston each scored 1 goal. This was the most goals scored by the Blue Devils since 2009. They next play Wednesday at 5 against Medaille at University Stadium. And finally, the men's soccer team lost to Grove City Saturday after the women's game at University Stadium, 1-0 in overtime. Sam Bielitz scored in the 103rd minute for Grove City to even the Devils' record at 2-2-2. The men next play Wednesday night against Medaille following the women's game. All right, so there's your wrap-up of college sports so far. And now, Aaron,
Time
NFL,
for some football.
We have some big news today.
Yeah.
Other than the Bills are 2-0, the biggest news from today, obviously, Ben Roethlisberger out for the year, Drew Brees out 6 weeks. So that's the third and fourth quarterback to go down this year following Andrew Luck's
surprising retirement.
Yeah.
But then again,
And Nick Foles.
Nick Foles got hurt too week 1 versus Kansas City. But is it Andrew Luck, like every year I feel like he was injured. His offensive line was horrible. And then last season they finally get it right. He was like the least pressured, the least hit, least sacked, and then he retires. But then again, he was hurt this whole time.
Yeah.
And now Big Ben's what now, 37, and he's out for the whole season. I want to see this new kid, Mason Rudolph. I want to see how he does. I think, obviously, like the Steelers, after this season losing Antonio Brown and who else? So that was the big, blockbuster, all those moves. Then he went to the Raiders, and then he got released by the Raiders following all that stupid stuff. And now he's on the Patriots, caught 2 touchdowns yesterday. And, I feel like that's going to be like Brady. Brady was with Moss at like the end of Moss's career, Randy Moss. And now I feel like Antonio Brown, I don't think his career is going to be ended anytime soon, but I think that's going to be like that new great duo, Moss, Brown and Brady. I feel like those two are going to be crazy this season.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on if they can charge Antonio Brown with anything, as now, their accusations of rape. So that's obviously real serious. So if they do find that he's innocent, I mean, as a Bills fan, I just hate that combination. I knew as soon as there were rumors.
I knew as soon as he got released.
As soon as there were rumors
that
he was leaving Oakland or trying to get released, I knew that he was going to New England. Like I had no second thoughts. I was like, he's going to New England. He wouldn't go anywhere else.
It's the Bill Belichick special.
Yeah.
Once a great player is released, he's mine now.
Yeah.
That's how it is with him.
And once they go to New England, they shut their mouths. They don't say anything for the most part. I mean, Josh Gordon did have some trouble with drugs again, but for the most part, Belichick whips them into shape, and they're great again. And it's just annoying as a Bills fan, but I do, as much as I dislike Antonio Brown being there, I like how he's kind of not a burden, but he's kind of like a distraction in the locker room now. And I like that because if he's going to distract any team, I want it to be the Patriots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see what happens there. But speaking of the Patriots, got to talk about the Bills because the Patriots come to town week 4, and the Bills are undefeated in 2019. Yes, you heard me right. The Bills are undefeated in 2019, going 4-0 in the preseason, and obviously going 2-0 this year. Both wins coming at MetLife Stadium. So I know that both those games are people are going to look at him and say, "Oh, it's just the
Mediocre
Jets, yeah,
games,
just the
yeah.
Giants, just the Jets." But at the same time, I really think this team's legit, and they get Cincinnati next week at home. New Era Field is going to be rocking. The Bills have never been 2-0 coming home to have their home opener.
Wow.
So it's going to be nuts there,
Yeah.
and the Bills are favored by 6 points. So
That's going to be a great sight to see. You know, I remember a couple years ago when they made it to the playoffs off that Tyler Boyd reception with
Yep.
like 35 seconds left. And I remember the magic here because, you know, obviously, if you know Sports Hour well, I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And, you know, we've been to the playoffs many years, but the Bills had, what, a 17-year drought? And it was just crazy here. Like, you know, Western New York, Buffalo, in that area, everyone was insane. And it was just nice to see it, you know?
yeah, it was. It was one of the best moments of my life for sure as a diehard fan.
Yeah.
As sad as that sounds, it really was. I mean, it was just awesome because we were not used to the playoffs, and once we finally got it, it was New Year's Eve. It was crazy, and then the Bills developed that relationship with the Bengals, where like Buffalo sent them wings and all these
Yeah.
thank you cards and everything. We donated to Andy Dalton's charities, and we developed a nice relationship. And then the Bengals got Cordy Glenn from us, Preston
Yeah.
Brown. I believe John Miller's there, so, and then,
Why don't we start talking about, you know, some week 2 scores and whatnot?
all right, so you want to give us some scores?
Yeah, so Thursday night game, where is it? I got pulled up. Started with a crazy game, Buccaneers and Panthers. The Bucs actually won that game on a crazy 4th-and-1 stop. Christian McCaffrey is right outside the end zone. He didn't make it, so the Bucs are now 1-1, I believe. Then a big
Wait,
game.
hang on, real quick. About that game, I was watching that, and Cam Newton is
not the
definitely
same.
not the same
He's
anymore.
not the same.
He had shoulder surgery in the offseason, and I'm sure that improved his health, but I know that's not the Cam Newton of old. I mean, just
Yeah.
watching him, it looks like he's like nursing his shoulder still when he throws. Like it's like he's like slinging it, and he's always been kind of like nonchalant out there, but I don't know. I can just tell that he's not the same.
Yeah, downfield, he's never been too consistent anyways. So.
Yeah.
Then a big team that's going to be on the watch this year is the Baltimore Ravens. And, you know, I was talking about this pregame, or pre-show actually. Lamar Jackson, everyone was being a critic about him. Oh, he should just switch position. He's not a quarterback, and I think he's had 7 touchdowns, zero picks, and he's played smart, you know. Sure, now this week he added 120 rushing yards on the ground, but last week we didn't see a lot of that. I forgot where they played last week, week
Miami.
1. Yeah, he barely ran, you know.
Yeah. We didn't have to with that Dolphins
Exactly.
defense.
But Kevin, let me ask you a question. Do you think Lamar Jackson is legit at quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always liked Lamar Jackson when he was at Louisville.
Yeah.
Because I always liked the dual threat quarterback, but after watching Tyrod in Buffalo, I love Tyrod, but at the same time I realized that you want more of a standard pocket passer, and you know that's why you have a running back. You don't have to have the quarterback do both. So I was kind of like, I wonder if Lamar's going to work out in the NFL. But so far, I mean,
Yeah.
he's been playing real well, and I think it's really cool to watch because you have the 2018 draft class of quarterbacks: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Josh Rosen is. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Rosen. He really hasn't been
course.
given a fair shot. But I mean, that draft class is it's really cool to watch because they're all developing at the same time,
Yeah.
and especially with Allen and Darnold both being in the AFC East. And Sam Darnold, I mean, he's another one we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Quarterbacks to go down. He's out with mono, so
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be back, but still,
Yeah.
5 top quarterbacks that are already down. So what are some of the other games here?
So, obviously, with Andrew Luck's retirement, Jacoby Brissett is the new man in Indy. And like I said, is it really surprising? No. Andrew Luck got hit all the time all these big hits, and he just got tortured in his 6 years as a starter because he was out the whole 2017 season. And when Jacoby Brissett was in, he didn't play bad. I think he had like 14. The interceptions were a little high, but he had about 14 touchdowns, I think 11 or 12 picks that 2017 season. So I like him as a player. Hopefully he does good in this league. And here's a bold prediction for this season. He's already hit T.Y. Hilton so many times, and I think T.Y. Hilton's going to have 100-plus receptions this year. I don't think he's ever done it. I think the most he's had was maybe 85, 88, around that. So I think he's going to take that next step. He's already been the wide receiver one in Indianapolis for a while, but
yeah, T.Y. Hilton puts up numbers no matter who his quarterback is. I mean, that's what defines a great wide receiver is.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's pretty easy not easy, but it's easier to put up numbers when you have a guy like Andrew Luck throwing you. But if you can do that with Jacoby Brissett, who is not as good as Luck, I mean, that's how you know you're real good. And, another thing about Luck, he said he's been hurt pretty much since 2015.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was, but he missed a lot of games in 2015. And then 2016 he was injured too. And 2017 was when he was out all year. And 2018 last year was when he had that real good year.
Played lights out.
And that
played
was
amazing.
pretty much like his
going out. His farewell year.
Yeah. And I feel bad for him, but he made the right choice. I mean,
at that point, it was all
Yeah.
mental. It was killing him on the inside.
Yeah.
He wants to play all the time, but
yeah,
it's just
you got to put yourself first, put your family
course.
ahead of football. So another big game. Well, it wasn't necessarily a big game, but the Lions and the Chargers, that was a bit of an upset.
yeah.
Lions tied with the Cardinals last week, and now they beat the Chargers. So, I mean, the Lions are.
They've always
It's
been
still
like,
early, but
they've always been that average team these
Yeah.
last few years.
yeah, and Matt Stafford, he's still one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I know he's not one of the best, but you got to like your chances when you have a guy like that who's been there for.
Yeah, he's like the
don't
one
even
thing
know.
about him I remember is like there was a ridiculous stat. He was like one of the best all time since he entered the league in fourth quarter comebacks. I think I don't know how old he is. He's probably like 30 now, 29. He's still young. It's just like he had a down year last year, and now obviously with the NFL draft, I think they hit on all your draft picks and whatnot. So hopefully they have a bounce back year and whatnot. But because that's all you want to see except like if they're like your rivals and whatnot. Like if they're in your division, all you want is horrible things to happen to them. But you can't really say that. It's just like you got to watch how the season unfolds.
Yeah. So you got a few minutes left in this segment. I want to go back to our two teams here, the Chiefs and the Bills. And obviously, you guys have our former running back now.
LaShawn McCoy.
So LaShawn McCoy is there. And I got to say, I really don't see how the Chiefs are going to lose this year. I mean, obviously, I don't think they're going to go undefeated. But, I mean, when you have Patrick Mahomes, LaShawn McCoy, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill when he comes back from his injury, I mean, you guys are just stacked.
Yeah.
And Mahomes is just so electric. I mean, what do you have? Almost 300 passing
He had
yards
almost
and
300
4 touchdowns in the second quarter
in the second
yesterday?
quarter, yeah. So
It's just
I was
insane.
watching the game yesterday, and the first quarter he literally had 35 passing yards, and they were down 10-0. And I remember going on the Chiefs Facebook page, and everyone was saying, "Well, this is going to be our first loss." And then I come back like a few minutes later, first play of the second quarter, long 45-yard bomb to Demarcus Robinson, who is going to be, in my opinion, great player this season. He's, I think, a third year player, so I think he's ready to take that next step. It's kind of like how I look at him. He's kind of like Robbie Anderson from the New York Jets. He's like that skinny, tall, go up and get it player. So, yeah, like the Chiefs, they're a big play waiting to happen at any time. Kelsey, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, how could I forget Kelsey, too?
Yeah, Sammy Watkins, who had almost 200 yards receiving week one. I'm very excited, and I'm also very excited to see how the Bills do this year. 2-0, and obviously, like, your division games are always insane. You always seem to put up a fight against New England when usually if it's New England, everyone's like, oh, let's throw in the towel now. But the Bills, every time I would watch a New England Bills game, they gave it their heart and soul. And that's what I like about those type of games, those dirty division games. Late in the season, weeks 15, 16, 17, when you have those division games to get into the playoffs. They're just, that's what football's all about, in my opinion.
So as a Chiefs fan, what was your opinion when you guys signed LaShawn McCoy? Because as a Bills fan, I think me and many other fans, I think it was kind of mixed emotions. We all love Shady, but at the same time, we also realize we have Devin Singletary, who's supposed to be a stud. I can already see it. I mean, he's averaging like 13.7 yards a carry. I think he's only had like 10 rushes on the year. So he's going to be a stud. We have Frank Gore, who's just Mr. I don't even know the word.
Father time.
Yeah, just never going to retire. And then people forget we have TJ Yeldon, too. So, I mean, McCoy was the odd one out in that because of the contract situation. So, as much as we all love Shady, I think all Bills fans realize that it was his time to move on. So, were you guys happy with that signing?
Well, yes and no. He's 31, I believe. I think he's 31 now. And obviously, after Kareem Hunt got released last year because of all those allegations and whatever happened and whatnot, Damian Williams stepped up in a big way. And this season, he hasn't really done much on the ground, but he's been that, receiving running back so far. But I've always liked LaShawn McCoy because, he's elusive, shady McCoy. Like, he's what NFL players now or NFL running backs now wanted to be when he was a rookie or his time in Philadelphia and whatnot. So I believe he's gonna be great for us this season. I think he's only on a 1-year deal, so we'll see if he gets a contract extension or anything like that. But I like him as a player. He's always been respected throughout the league, so I think he's gonna be that good, heavy power. Even though he's not a power back, he's a power back in this scheme that we have. That's how I see it. Hopefully they utilize him a lot.
Yeah, and one more thing about the Bills. I mean, I just love all the offseason moves that we made, just surrounding Josh Allen with so much more talent to help him improve in year 2. I mean, Mitch Morse, Quentin Spain, John Feliciano, Ty Nsekhe, Cody Ford, John Brown, Cole Beasley, Frank Gore. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's a totally revamped offense. They got Ed Oliver to replace Kyle Williams, and like I said, it's 2-0. The Jets and Giants aren't the best teams to beat, but at the same time, I'm really happy with the direction this team's headed. And week 3 is definitely not a given, but we have a very good chance to beat the Bengals. And then week 4, Patriots come to town. So it's going to be getting exciting. So, all right, thank you, Aaron. And next, we will have Mac to talk some baseball. So stay tuned for that.
I'll be right back.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
And welcome back to the MLB segment. We now have Mac Clune on the show with us.
Thanks for having me.
Mac, how you doing?
I'm good.
And what are your thoughts here about this MLB season as the playoffs are quickly approaching? Just a couple weeks left in the regular season.
It's been a crazy season. You have two really top tier teams. You got the Astros, you got the Yankees, and you got the Dodgers, who all look like they're going to win 100 games, which is amazing. And you got a crazy wild card race coming up right now with tons of teams that are really fighting it out for it. The NL East, there's like 4 teams that can still make a wild card spot right now, so
Yeah.
it's nuts.
The National League is a lot more competitive right now than the American League. But I got to mention first, this guy's a Mets fan, I'm a Yankees fan, so...
Could be worse. I could be Red Sox. You know?
True. Hey, at least we can hate them together.
Yeah, true.
But I'm happy. Boston is really not that good this year.
No, defending champs, they couldn't get it done. You know,
Yep.
it's crazy. They just haven't had the pitching for it. You know, David Price is just like falling off a cliff. Chris Sale hasn't been able to put it together. So
And last week, Dave Dombrowski was fired. So
Yeah, and
they're
they're
already
fired.
they're I don't want to say dynasty, but they're a little their run at the World Series for the last couple of years. I think it's already starting to fall apart here.
And as a Yankees fan, I'm sure you love to see a little bit of dysfunction.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
And the Yankees, meanwhile, they've run away with it. They have 98 wins right now. They have the division on lock, 100%. It's theirs. And it's crazy because second in the division is the Rays, who are also a really good team, but they haven't been able to get any ground on the Yankees so far this year.
Yeah, as a Yankees fan, I've never been big on spending the big money to get these free agents. I mean, I loved Stanton. I
Yeah.
loved Judge was drafted. Like Teixeira back in the day, Sabathia in '09 when we had all those big signings and we won the World Series. I love the players, but at the same time, I almost kind of, I guess you could say I felt bad for the rest of the league because the Yankees have so much money. You look at a team like the Oakland A's or the Cincinnati Reds, they can't really compete in that aspect with the Yankees. But I love that the Yankees this year,
Yep.
they really didn't have any, that big of signings. They're getting contributions all over from guys like Gio Urshela, Mike Ford, Mike Tauchman,
Voit.
Cameron Maben, Luke Voit, all
Yeah.
these guys.
Brett Gardner.
Brett
Right,
Gardner's
that
getting
guy.
it done still. I mean, they're just getting contributions all over, and it's just really fun to see because, like I said, they didn't go out and spend hundreds of millions of dollars on these guys. I mean, Urshela, he was designated for assignment by the Indians,
Yep.
and no one really wanted him. The Yankees took a flyer on him, and he's got 20 home runs this year.
I've never seen a team that has had so many injuries to core players
that too,
then
yeah.
had people just come up and step up. And they're the best. They're one of the best teams in the league. They're top 3 easily. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Encarnacion just went down, actually. Who else is out right now? Judge just came back for them. Severino looks like he's going to come back soon.
Yep,
So,
Severino's going to be coming back. Stanton's going to be coming back. And then looking at the rest of their injury report here, Hicks is still out, Tauchman, and Duhar is out for the year, Greg Bird. But, I mean, the Yankees are just stacked. I mean, looking at the depth, or like their starting lineup, just going from first to third, Luke Voit at first, Gleyber Torres, who has 37 home runs as a second baseman, and playing great defense too. Didi Gregorius at short, Urshela at third, and then I'm forgetting DJ LeMahieu too. I mean, that was a great signing, and again, we didn't spend the big bucks on him, but I mean, that guy is just a hitting machine. Like if the Yankees need a hit, you want DJ LeMahieu at the plate
For sure.
And I think he's hitting around. I'll have to check his stats, but he's definitely hitting around 330 this year, and he's just getting it done. Like whenever the Yankees need a big hit, you can count on DJ LeMahieu.
Yep, and Gary Sanchez just went down too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
But
Gary
let's move on
Sanchez.
to the AL West here. Another division where there's a clear front runner in it, the Astros have this division on lock. Oakland, again, same thing as with the Yankees and the Rays. Oakland is a really good team, but they just can't seem to gain any ground on one of the best teams in the league.
The Astros, I mean, they're just really good. I mean, considering where they were a few years ago, do you remember when they used to be part of the NL Central?
Yeah, they were a joke.
Yeah.
They were a joke forever.
Like 57 wins they average a year, probably. I don't know that for a fact, but it just always seemed like they were that classic 57-win team.
I'm there. I mean, just to say, they're my pick for the World Series right now. I don't see how you beat that starting three of pitchers. It's just ridiculous with Greinke, with Garrett Cole, and Verlander.
18 win. Verlander, I mean, I like the guy. I like him as a player, but the only reason I dislike him is because he's so good.
Yep.
And because now the Yankees and Astros aren't rivals, but they're definitely two of the top teams in the AL, and they're going to be fighting against each other. So that's why you don't like Verlander. But I mean, you got to respect that he just gets better with age. I mean, he's in his upper 30s now, and he just keeps going and going and going, and just every year. And then he just threw that no-hitter a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
so.
Against the Blue Jays. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, so another team in the AL West I wanted to talk about really briefly was the Angels, who they just lost Mike Trout, who's the consensus best player in the league, and Shohei Ohtani just went down too. So just another disappointing season from the Angels, who have all this talent and they just can't seem to put it together.
I know. I was gonna say, I'm glad you brought that up because Mike Trout is the best player in the league. And
One of the best players of all time.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
And I feel like he's still underrated because of the Angels,
Yep.
and because the Angels can never get more than 80 wins. They can never. I don't think they've been to the playoffs since Trout's been there.
Trout has never been in a MLB playoffs, which
Like,
is
one of-
insane.
One of the best players ever is not going to get in the playoffs for, well, at least for this year. But, I mean, I just feel bad for him because if he was on the Yankees or the Astros, he'd be tearing it up. And then I feel bad for him, too, because he was tearing it up this year, 45 home runs, 291 average.
He's the MVP
WAR.
right here. I mean, he's going to miss the last 2 weeks of the season, and he's still the MVP, hands down. So it's like, that's how good he is. He doesn't even need to play last 14
he's out,
games.
Yeah, and he's out for the rest of the year. So I just feel bad for Mike Trout. I do hope the Angels, as long as it doesn't interfere with the Yankees, I hope the Angels can get in the playoffs just for Mike Trout because he's just that good. I mean, every single year he's putting up the numbers. And every year he's another one like Verlander. He just gets better and better.
Yep. And he's not. I think Mike Trout's like 29, 30 now. So he's got a lot of baseball ahead of him.
He might be 28, but yeah. He's got a lot. And he signed that huge contract at the beginning of the year too. So I think he signed a contract to play until he's like 40 or something. So
he likes it there. So it's crazy. In the AL Central, you got the Twins, who are in first place again. They're not quite as dominant as the other two teams but they're good. They're really solid. And Cleveland was able to close the gap around a month ago, but since then they haven't been able to get any more ground.
Yeah, the Twins are interesting because they had a good offseason, and a lot of these guys that they've been developing are finally coming to fruition here. I mean, Eddie Rosario is having a monster year.
Yep.
Max Kepler.
They hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
They just broke the Yankees record, I believe, for most home runs in a year. And now Jorge Blanco at short, Miguel Sano at third. I mean, this team they're sneaky good. And then Nelson Cruz, too. He's a guy that every year you can just count on him heating up around July, August, like the dog days of summer.
He's a dangerous guy.
And I feel like you turn on ESPN, every night it says Cruz, home run, Cruz, home run, Cruz, home run. And every year, like he finishes around 40 home runs. So the Twins are definitely a team to look out for here. And then the Indians.
Disappointing season from them, in my opinion.
Yeah. But
I think most pundits picked them to win the division for sure.
Yeah.
And then the Twins, you nailed it with the Twins had a really good, they had a really good offseason, but they just haven't been able to put it together. Or the Cleveland hasn't been able to put it together in the regular season.
Yeah. Now, Cleveland, I don't know, they're kind of in like a weird position because Corey Kluber hasn't pitched all year. They lost Josh Tomlin. Carlos Carrasco had leukemia. And then they traded Yan Gomes.
Yep.
So I don't want to say they're in sell mode, but they were kind of in a time where they were trying to, maintain that solid team that they had, and also they were also trying to, I think, downsize with the salary cap with getting rid of Yan Gomes and letting Roberto Perez be the catcher. And then towards the trade deadline, they started to be buyers again. They got Yasiel Puig from Cincinnati. They got Franmil Reyes from San Diego. So it was almost kind of like they were starting their sell mode, and then they got hot again.
Yep.
They went into buy mode, and now they're caught a few games behind the Twins, and I believe a game and a half back of Tampa for the wild card.
I don't think Puig's been that great for them, to be honest. So it's some of those moves haven't worked out that great.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're fighting for the wild card, but I think that there are there are better teams than that will get that wild card spot. So going to the NL East.
Wait, sorry, real quick before the NL. One team, I feel like every year I say this, but every year they just get it done. The Tampa Bay Rays.
Yep.
I mean, they don't have any stars.
Blake Snell won the Cy Young last year, and that's the only guy I can think of.
And he's hurt.
Yep. And he had a bad year. He had a bad year this year, so.
Yeah, he really wasn't doing much. I mean, when they went to the World Series in 2008, they had Carlos Pena, B.J. Upton, Carl Crawford. So they had some pretty big names. But this year, I mean, Kevin Kiermaier is probably their best or their most well-known player. You got Tommy Pham, Avisail Garcia. They just got Eric Sogard from Toronto. Willie Adames is playing short. I mean, G-Man Choi at first. Like a bunch of, I don't want to say no names, but Travis d'Arnaud catching.
Yeah,
Austin
d'Arnaud,
Meadows.
former Met.
Yeah.
He left the Mets and then hit like 10 home runs in 4 games.
Yeah.
So that's the Mets for you.
So, like, Tampa Bay, Charlie Morton pitching, Tyler Glasnow, like, they're another team like Oakland. They don't get the stars. They don't have the money for that. But they're just a good, solid team that they know how to construct their team.
Same division as the Yankees, too. So
Yeah.
they get it done. All right, so my home division, the NL East, is a really interesting division right now. So far, it looks like the Braves have it 100%. But below them, there's a lot of interesting wild card stuff going on right now. Like, for example, the Nationals are the #1 spot in the wild card race right now for the NL. The Mets are holding on slightly. They have an 8% chance to make the playoffs right now. I'll take the bet. And then also the Phillies, who are a disappointing team after signing Bryce Harper. They got JT Realmuto, and they just haven't been able to get it done. They're 4th in the division right now.
Yeah, the Phillies are a real big disappointment. I was there last summer. My family and I took a vacation there, and the talk then was everyone was saying we're getting Harper and Machado, Harper and Machado.
Yep.
And I was like, no, you're not. And if you do, you're not getting both of them. Well, they got Harper, and everyone was hyped there. And I thought this would be the year that they could contend for the NL East, but it's been really disappointing for them to be 76 and 72 with Bryce Harper. I mean, yeah, Bryce Harper's not going to lead you to 100 wins on his own. But like you said, they get JT Realmuto. They got Jason Vargas and Drew Smyly to back up the back end of their rotation. And
their defense is still just a problem. I mean, even with JT Realmuto, who's an amazing defensive catcher, they weren't able to hold up that defense. And their pitching's been getting hit too. Aaron Nola's had a good season, but not an amazing season. So,
and the Mets are interesting too because Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil have just been crushing it this year. I saw them in Double-A last year in Erie. I went to an Erie Seawolves game, and they crushed it there too. I think they each hit a home run. And actually, I went to see Tim Tebow, and Alonso and McNeil caught my eye. And when they came up this year, I was just like, dang, like, these guys are good.
Pete Alonso, 47 home runs right now, leads the league. The problem with the Mets is they've had all the hallmarks of like an inconsistent team this year. What's been
Way
happening?
too inconsistent.
Guys will get hot, like you'll see, like Ahmed Rosario will go out and hit 400 for a week or two, but then he'll slump back down. Even Pete, I love him, but he definitely is like prone to occasional slumps. I'd say their most consistent people have been DeGrom, Jeff McNeil, and it's like you look at all their talent on the team, and you wonder how they wouldn't be a playoff team. But that's just the problem with being an inconsistent team is these guys perform and then they lack and so on.
And
Their
Sticking with-
defense has been bad. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Terrible defense all year for the Mets.
And sticking with the NL East, I mean, I think this division is going to run through Atlanta for the next few years. I mean, they are stacked.
They
I mean,
have such good players.
yeah,
That-
Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Dansby Swanson, Josh Donaldson, Nick Markakis, Ronald Acuna Jr., Matt Joyce, Brian McCann.
Acuna Jr.
That
might-
is a group of all-stars right there.
Acuna Jr. might hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases. There's
Yeah.
like 4 players who have ever done that. He's like 22. He's
Yeah.
unbelievable. And Freddie Freeman, Josh Donaldson.
And then, the rotation, Soroka, Keuchel, Fried, Tehran, Fultonevich, and then the bullpen, Melanson, Green, Newcomb, Swarzak, Blevins, Josh Tomlin.
Great pitchers. Soroka's been amazing. He could be, he's the other Rookie of the Year nominee.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be good for a long time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just to recap, so Houston is leading the AL West.
Yep.
The Yankees are leading the AL East, Minnesota in the AL Central, and then the 2 wild cards are Oakland and Tampa right now. Cleveland is a game and a half behind Tampa. Mm-hmm. And then the NL, the Dodgers have the NL West. Excuse me, actually, they've already clinched the NL
Yep.
West.
They're going to win 100 games this year. St. Louis currently has the lead, but the Cubs are fighting for wild card position. Currently, the wild card is the Nationals, and then the Cubs in second.
And then Milwaukee's right behind them, a game back. The Mets 4 back. Philadelphia 4.5 back, and Arizona 5.5 back. And Milwaukee, they're hanging on after losing Christian Yelich for the year. So
Yep.
they're only a game out, and it like it does every year, just gets interesting. 2 weeks left, and playoffs right around the corner. So
Yep. It's been a great season.
thanks for coming on, Mac. And next we will be talking about the NBA with Meyer.
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world
Will you help me make art?
before you throw it away.
Hey, I have an idea.
Think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
We are joined by Meyer Mikulski now for the NBA segment. And Meyer, first things first, you called that last year. Toronto won the NBA Finals. I am still shocked that you called that because I did not think that they would. I thought it was Golden State all the way.
I mean, the reason why I did think they would go that far is because of their IQ and just the makeup of how they play defense.
And Kawhi was Kawhi and just put that team and the country on his back.
And Siakam also stepped up as well as Lowry. He had his moments as well in that finals.
And then, Marc Gasol too. So that was just a great run. It was great to see. I love seeing new teams win. I love seeing new teams like Toronto, Milwaukee. Everyone was having great years last year, and I love that Toronto won instead of Golden State. And I love what happened in the offseason too. So
Yep.
You want to tell us some?
Yeah, it's finally parity in the NBA again.
Exactly. Parity, parity, parity.
So first move that I'm breaking down is the Los Angeles Lakers. So they traded Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and the draft rights to DeAndre Hunter and two future first-round picks to New Orleans in exchange for Anthony Davis. They also traded Mo Wagner, Isaac Bonga, Jamario Jones. They traded him to Washington to create money for Anthony Davis. So what are your thoughts, Kevin?
They gave up pretty much their whole team. I mean, you know LeBron's running that team. Even though he's not, you know he's in the GM's ear telling him what to do and all that. And you knew Anthony Davis wasn't going to be in New Orleans much longer. If I was the Lakers, I would not have done that. I mean, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, DeAndre Hunter, 2 first-round picks. I mean, that is just crazy. Like, you give up almost a full starting lineup for one guy. I mean, I know Anthony Davis is that good, but that was just a major haul that they gave away.
Kevin, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. I believe that in order for them to win now, they have to pair LeBron with a superstar. And they signed some good role players as well.
Yeah, but still, though, I mean, LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's just 2 guys. Now they got to fill out the rest of their team. I mean, like, I know they did in the offseason, but like I said, personally, I wouldn't have done that, but we'll see how it plays out.
They still do have Kyle Kuzma as well.
Yes, he's getting better and better each year.
And they recently signed Dwight Howard.
Yeah, he's back.
In the aftermath of DeMarcus Cousins' injury.
Yes. Okay, yep. DeMarcus Cousins, that was the other one I was forgetting. I was like, I knew they signed someone else big. Cousins, they signed him, and then he got hurt in the offseason workouts. So they replaced him with Dwight Howard again. So we'll see if the second time around is any better for him.
And they also signed Danny Green, Avery Bradley, and Quinn Cook.
So solid pickups. So they did a good job making up for those losses for the Anthony Davis trade.
Yeah, most definitely.
So what were some of the other big moves this season? Off-season, that is.
So D'Angelo Russell signed with Golden State for 4 years, $117 million via sign and trade with Brooklyn. I wasn't a huge fan of that move, but they're still a playoff team. But I don't know how him and Steph Curry are going to manage in the pick and rolls. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think for this year it's going to be great because Klay's out after suffering that bad injury in the finals. But I don't know, for the second, third, and fourth years, that's their new big 3 with Durant going to Brooklyn now. So, I mean, there's only 2 guard positions. So is Klay going to go to small forward? Is D'Angelo Russell going to be a small forward?
Yeah, Klay is going to have to play the 3 because he's taller and he's a better defender.
Yeah. So typically big 3s are, you have 1 or 2 guards and then 1 or 2 forwards. These are 3 guards that are making up a big 3.
And they still have Draymond Green, too.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so Durant went to Brooklyn.
And Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan joined him in Brooklyn.
Yeah, so they have their new big 3 now.
And they have a sneaky pickup in Taurean Prince as well.
Yeah.
Who they traded Allen Crabbe for.
Yep, so Brooklyn is, well, Durant's out for the year too, but they're still going to be good. I mean, if you have Kyrie Irving on your team, you know you're going to be pretty good. And then DeAndre Jordan too. They're going to be a fun duo to watch.
Yeah, my only question with DeAndre Jordan is how many good years does he have left in him?
Yeah, I liked him on the Knicks last year because I'm a Knicks fan. So he did decent for us, but then again, look who he was playing with.
Yeah.
So I think you surround him with guys like Kyrie, Durant when he comes back, and I think DeAndre Jordan's still got a few good years left in him.
I mainly asked that question due to his age.
Yeah, well, he's not that old yet, so like I said, I still think he's got a few good years left.
And as well his play style too, because his game is predicated on athleticism.
Yeah, he's only 31, so like I said, a few good years. All right, so what were some of the other big moves here?
So Boston Celtics signed Kemba Walker for a max contract. So I believe he's going to give the same production that Kyrie Irving gave when Kyrie Irving was there. But I feel like he's just a less popular version of Kyrie.
Yeah. But I don't want to say underrated because he is Kemba Walker, but he's definitely not as popular of a guy.
Because he played in Charlotte.
Yeah. But like you said, he's not just as good as Kyrie because Kyrie's great, but
He's in the same realm.
he's a great replacement is I guess what I'm trying to say.
And with that, they lost Terry Rozier to Charlotte. So he basically traded places with Kemba Walker.
And that's Boston definitely made out there.
Yep. And Rozier finally gets a chance to spread his wings in Charlotte. But will he produce how he produced 2 seasons ago? Especially in the playoffs. The Celtics also lost Al Horford to Philadelphia. He signed there for 4 years, $109 million. And my question about that signing was how will he fit and how many more productive seasons does he have left in him? So what are your thoughts, Kevin?
He's another one. I think he's getting up there in age. He's not that old yet, but at the same time, like I said, he's surrounded with guys like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and I think that when you play with good players, that makes you play younger because when you're by yourself, you have to do it all yourself. And then you put stress on your body and you start doing too much and then your body can't take it anymore. Now it's going to come easy to them. You know, they can get the pick and roll going. If it's not Horford getting it down low, it'll be Embiid. So, and Al Horford's not a guy that needs to get 20, 30 shots a game. He's totally okay with, sharing the ball. So I think he's got a few good years left in him too.
And one more note on the Celtics. Enes Kanter signed a 1+1 option. I believe it's a good consolation signing for the Celtics. However, I don't believe he'll have the same impact that Al Horford had, especially on the defensive end. You agree with me, Kevin?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a drop-off, but like I said, as a Knicks fan, Kanter was on the Knicks last year, and he is really underrated, I think. He'll get you a double-double every night, and it's like the same thing. Kemba Walker, not as good as Kyrie, but a great replacement. Enes Kanter, not as good as Al Horford, but a great replacement. So you lose great players, but the Celtics really didn't have that big of a drop-off, in my opinion. All right, so what were some of the other big moves here?
The next big move was Jimmy Butler to Miami for Josh Richardson via sign and trade. I believe he'll fit right in with the Heat culture because he's gritty and he's tough, and he gives the Heat that go-to guy that they've been lacking for years. So what are your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, I really like it, and the main reason, like we said at the beginning of the segment, parity. I mean, you look at the East now. Well, you look at the whole league. We'll get to the West in a minute, but looking at the East now, we're shifting from an age of big threes and more to dynamic duos. So Brooklyn, Durant and Kyrie. Milwaukee, Giannis and either Bledsoe or Middleton. They don't really have like a specific duo.
The Lakers.
Boston has Kemba and either
Tatum,
Gordon Hayward or Jason Tatum. Philadelphia has Embiid and Simmons. Toronto still has Lowry and Gasol. Butler and Dragic now in Miami. Washington has John Wall and Bradley Beal.
But Wall won't play this year.
Yeah, Wall's hurt. Detroit has Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. So, I mean, I'm not like a huge Miami Heat fan, but I just like it because there's so much parity now, and it's really going to be fun to watch.
And one more note on the Heat, they also traded Hassan Whiteside to Portland. And he gets a fresh start in Portland, but my question about him is, which version is showing up there? Is it the one that's been playing inconsistent basketball, or is it the one that was hungry when he first signed with Miami?
Yeah. And again, you surround him with good players, Lillard and McCollum, and that's a new big three. I mean, Portland was already good, and now they're that much better. So a couple of the biggest ones we got to talk about here.
Yep.
Obviously, Kawhi and Paul George making the new duo. I mean, the two LA teams, that's going to be fun to watch too now because LeBron and AD, and then Paul George and Kawhi on the other side of this. Well, not the other side of the city; it's the same arena. But you know, the two LA teams are definitely. Actually, they're projected both of those teams, a lot of people are projecting them to win it all next year.
Yep, and rightfully so. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both came off career seasons. Kawhi averaged 26, 7, and 3, while PG averaged 28, 8, and 4. And Paul George actually finished top 3 in MVP voting, and Kawhi Leonard, as we spoke about in the beginning, led the Raptors to their first ever NBA championship, defeating Golden State in 6, and he won his second Finals MVP.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be fun to watch. And then the other big move, Russell Westbrook and James Harden are reunited in Houston.
Yeah.
So, that's just going to be fun to watch. I'm happy for Westbrook because I feel bad for him. Durant left him.
Yeah.
Well, Harden left him originally, then Durant, then Paul George.
Well, Harden didn't really leave him. He got traded.
Well, yeah. But he gets a fresh start, and Houston, that's definitely an upgrade. So, I mean, I talked about all the duos in the West. I mean, you got the 2 LA teams now, Harden and Westbrook, Steph and Clay, Lillard and McCollum. Utah has Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell. Denver has Jokic and Murray, Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis in Dallas, Aldridge and DeRozan in San Antonio. So just so much parity in the league now.
In 2K, you could get away with using any team, like especially if you know what you're doing with them and win.
Yeah, and Utah's a team too. They're like Portland, they do get a lot of ESPN time, but they're not one of the bigger markets, and people don't want to say that they're going to win it all just because it's small little Utah, small little Portland. But both those teams, Denver too, they're going to be real solid teams this year.
I actually predict Denver will be the #1 seed in the West, just due to the fact that they made it far in the playoffs and they have a lot of chemistry with each other.
Yeah, and Jokic just keeps getting better and better. Same with Jamal Murray too.
And going back to the Rockets, I believe that they have they have arguably the 2 most hated and polarizing players in basketball on the same team. And they both usually get criticized for being ball hogs. Westbrook gets criticized for stat padding, and Harden gets criticized for his lack of defense. So what are your thoughts about that from the negative aspect?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've always liked both of those guys. I mean, I love how Russell Westbrook just puts it all out there every night. Like, a lot of people, use the phrase, he gives 110%. Westbrook gives 120%. I mean, he just puts it all out there every time. And I've always respected him for that. And, a lot of people say he's a ball hog, but at the same time, the guy averaged a triple-double.
3 years in a row.
Yeah, 3 years in a row, he's averaged a triple-double. I mean, obviously he's getting the assists in, and obviously he's getting the points in, so you can't really criticize him for being a ball hog. I mean, okay, yeah, maybe he's averaged, not maybe, I mean, he has averaged more points than assists, but that's natural. So, I mean, if you're going to blame anyone for being a ball hog, someone like a James Harden is more of a ball hog than Westbrook. And with Harden, I've never had a problem with him either. I mean, yeah, he is kind of lazy on defense. Yeah, he does shoot a lot, but the guy is good. He's real good. And him and Westbrook, that's a great duo in Houston now.
I've heard a lot of chatter that those two may not work together, but I believe because they're great players, they're eventually going to figure it out. They've played with each other before, but their games are just a lot different than they were 7 years ago when they last played together. But they'll figure it out.
Yeah, so I know it's real early here, but if you could predict, since you predicted the correct winner last year, who do you think, like we said, there's so much parity now, so many good teams. Who are your top teams here? And even if you want to throw in a winner already, who do you think? Like who won the offseason, I guess is a better question.
I say both the Lakers and the Clippers won the offseason because of the big names that they signed, as well as the fact that both teams are deep.
Yeah, and as long as those two teams are in the West, what about in the East?
In the East, the East is a little bit more tricky, but I feel like Indiana's a sleeper because of the Malcolm Brogdon signing.
Yeah, I mean, after Paul George left, they've pretty much been forgotten about. So Indiana's another team that's they don't have a lot of superstars, but they're a solid team. So if I were to give two teams props for their offseason, obviously, yeah, Lakers and Clippers, but I really like Portland just for getting Hassan Whiteside because now they had, like I said, Lillard, McCollum, and Whiteside. That's a great big three. And then Utah, too.
Yeah.
I like what they did.
They also signed Jeff Green, too, Utah.
Okay, yep, that's right. So Utah and Portland are my two, not really sleeper teams, but definitely teams to watch for. And then in the East, I don't know. I mean, everything's so up in the air now, but I think obviously Brooklyn and Milwaukee are the two teams to watch for here. So
Kevin, before we end off, what are your thoughts about the New York Knicks signing?
yes, I was going to say we got to talk about the Knicks, and also we haven't even mentioned Zion yet. I think every other talk show does, so
Yeah.
we're taking a break from that. But New Orleans, I mean, with that Anthony Davis trade, they get all those players back and
Yep.
Zion. They're going to be real good this year, too. But as for the Knicks, we're still a couple years away.
In my opinion, I believe the Knicks actually made some underrated signings,
Yeah, we did.
particularly Julius Randle and Marcus Morris.
Yes, I love those signings. Randall was great last year for the Pelicans. So we didn't get Durant, didn't get Kyrie. I don't want to say I expected that, but I was kind of like on the fence about that. I was like, there's no way we've been this bad and all of a sudden Durant and Kyrie are just going to come here and resurrect us. So when they went to Brooklyn, I wasn't totally surprised. But I love, like you said, Julius Randle. That's a solid pickup for getting a forward. And
Honestly,
then R.J. Barrett,
yeah.
too, with the draft. So the Knicks are headed in the right direction. It's
Yeah.
just going to take a few years.
Honestly, I believe they could sneak into the 8th spot.
Yeah, they might be. I mean, because the East isn't as dominant as the West.
Yeah.
So in the West, you might need to win 45, 50 games to get in the playoffs.
Yep. As
maybe,
Phoenix.
Maybe even 55, yeah. In the East, you could probably sneak in with 40, maybe in the upper 30s. So you're right. I mean, the Knicks have made a lot of solid moves, but they're still,
Yeah, they
a
still
little
have
ways
ways
away.
to go.
Alfred Payton, Marcus Morris, Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, Damian Dotson's getting better and better. So Lonzo Trier we still have. So
They have a lot of guards.
yeah. Wait, I forgot, who's your favorite team?
My favorite team personally is the Heat.
Oh, okay. And you already said you like that.
Yeah.
with Jimmy Butler and Dragic. So, all right. Well, that will wrap up our first show of the semester. We're every Monday now. Last year we were on Tuesday, so it'll be every Monday now. So you can watch us right before you watch Monday Night Football. Jets and Browns underway. No Sam Darnold. No C.J. Mosley. No Quinnen Williams. So maybe the Browns can get their first win of the year. But for Kevin Syracuse and Myron Mikulski and the rest of the WNYF crew, thank you for watching us tonight, and we will be back next Monday. Hopefully the Bills will be 3-0 by then. Have a good week.